What do Raysun do?
Raysun are set up to do two main things. One, we're a tool room, so we have our own design and manufacturing, and we have a range of customers where we design and build tools and fixtures, although we're not just limited to aerospace type tooling and fixturing. We have actually made a frame for the London electric taxi, for example. The second side of the business is a fast make facility where we're fast making development components and small batches of complex gas turbine engine components, and Rolls-Royce is one of our major customers in that area.
And you've recently purchased your second Mitsubishi. Why was that?
We purchased the second Mitsubishi because we'd had two things really. Good experience with the first one. We took a little bit of a chance as a small business to have a quite expensive top-end machine tool, but found that having got one, that we used it for all kinds of applications that at first weren't obvious, and it became a machine that was used the whole time. And in the fast make side of our business, it was becoming obvious that we had many applications that we could use it for in the gas turbine engine part. So with some of the contracts that we'd secured, it seemed obvious and the right thing to do to make a further purchase and have a machine tool that was dedicated to the fast make side of the business.
And how's the relationship been with HK Technology and Mitsubishi?
The relationship with HK for me personally started a number of years ago, where I came across them in a previous employment. I used to work at Wimbrow Group Technologies in Colville, and Wimbrow had a need for some dicing EDM equipment, and in the end, after a fairly lengthy process and looking at what was available in the market, Mitsubishi was selected, and there was some dicing EDM equipment was bought, and I watched that run for many years, very reliably indeed. So when it came to considering wire EDM, Mitsubishi and the UK agent HK Technologies were near the top of the list to go and consider. And here at Raysun, we're on the same industrial park as HK Technologies. So, and over that time that we've been involved with Mitsubishi, there were some personal relationships that were forged also. So when you put all that together, Mitsubishi were a very obvious choice. Whilst they had to do the commercial things right, which they did, that was really how we came to look at Mitsubishi and in the end buy two wire EDM machines. In addition to the wire EDM, 3D printing as a small company that's involved in work holding, it's something that we've got a history of using. We've had various 3D printing systems along the way as the system has evolved and developed, and quite recently we bought their system which now utilizes either Kevlar or graphite in the design, and obviously as the technology's marched on, so we're able to march on with some of the applications that we can apply that to. And right here in front of me I've got three examples of fixtures that we've produced using the new system. So there's a little fixture here which we would put a turbine blade root form in here, and we use that for laser marking. There's one here where we've applied a smaller rower chuck detail to the bottom of again a small turbine blade root form, so we use that as a soft fixture for CMM inspection. And then thirdly here we've got a fixture with a much larger root form in, again on an Aroa chuck, and this is something that we actually use on the 7-axis wire EDM so that we can hold it and actually index the part round to be able to machine various features, more as a laboratory cut-up operation in this particular case. So that's a further line of business that we've worked with HK in.
How do you find the quality and the precision of the components that come off the machine?
The precision and the quality of the components produced from these machines is second to none. It really is, we would say it's actually the core of our business. We rely on them perhaps more heavily than we should. But if when measuring a component on the CMM and we get a questionable result, we look at the CMM first rather than the wire EDM. Such has our reliance and faith been placed in that particular platform and that technology.
How has that machine helped you work towards NEDCAP and other approvals?
Working with aerospace and working towards parts that fly, there's been an increasing demand from our customers for us to work at a NADCAP level. So the Mitsubishi machine has been much easier for us to work at that kind of level than perhaps other equipment that we might have. The control system itself is very well set up in that way. There's a maintenance schedule that can be contained, and we can add to that apart from the manufacturers as well. It's self-diagnosing, it's self-controlling, and the diagnostics on board are at such a level that really the work that we have to do as a user is limited in being able to work to a NADCAP level. Whilst there's other paperwork and so on that we have to do as a user, from the machine tool point of view, the machine is extremely well equipped to work to that NADCAP level of EDM.
How is the process of educating your staff to actually use the EDM technology?
Well, as an engineering group, we've had very limited previous knowledge of EDM. The tool makers that we employ have a background in milling, turning, and grinding principally. And EDM is something that's, I wouldn't say it's been a black art, but it's something that there's been little previous experience. So when we're talking a complex application like EDM is, we've got one of two ways of doing it. We get our guys on training courses galore to try and understand the different technology, or what's happened in our case, we've relied very heavily on the built-in technology within the control on the machines. And by filling in a very limited number of fields, type of material, type of profile, and how many cuts and so on, some very basic stuff, the machine selects an appropriate technology and really does the complex and difficult work for us. So I'm sorry, that's perhaps a long-winded answer to your question, but it's been reasonably straightforward in order to be able to carry out the training.
Raysun, you're an existing user of Mitsubishi. How's that machine been, the MV2400?
The 2400 has worked almost non-stop for something like 5 years. I think we've had one breakdown that perhaps wasn't due to our own use of it, so we'd have to call that extremely reliable.
And you're up to 7 axes on that machine now. How has that helped Raysun?
We've often had a need to take a component where we can put it in a number of different configurations. So having this additional rotary axis means that we can hold the component once, but then rotate it to a number of different positions. So we're not using it as an active axis, we're using it more as a positional axis. So that has just made us more flexible with some of the new work that's coming our way. And obviously when we get that type of work, it means that we can produce it more quickly and at a lower cost.
How do you find the new cube control?
The new control, whilst I'm not a programmer myself, I come more from the quality side of things. I'm told from my colleagues that the control is considerably upgraded from the previous version that we had on the 240 version some years back. Where I'm looking at it from a quality viewpoint, it's very much more accessible for maintenance routines, and we can add our own maintenance requirements into it, and it's obviously giving us that feedback on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, however that is. The guys tell me that it's quite similar in that they haven't had to go back to school to be able to reuse it, but there are many new features and many new facilities on board it, and obviously visually it gives them far more feedback with the graphics. So they're liking it.
When you're in the market for a new EDM, will you consider HK and Mitsubishi?
If we're ever in the market for another wire EDM machine, which there's a distinct possibility that we will with some of the new contracts we're looking at, then HK and Mitsubishi would have to be at the top of the list for consideration, that's for sure.